Hi, I'm Cynthia Schiller. Please like and subscribe. So there's a debate out there on how narcissism is created, this NPD that people have, narcissistic personality disorder. There is some studies that show that there is some link to genetics, that it can be heritable, and the individuals are more likely to develop narcissistic personality disorder if they have a family history with this type of disorder. And this is where it gets tricky, is sometimes it's because of the environment that they're in, that the way that they're treated can lead them to be narcissistic. We have to be careful too, because when we're dealing with a narcissist, they kind of turn us into narcissists. And that's why sometimes we're wondering, are we the narcissist? We go over everything, but we self-reflect. So that's a good sign that you're not a narcissist, because you're trying to figure things out. The narcissist, they don't care. Everything's about them. So a lot of times with this excessive admiration, it's where they don't really get realistic feedback. There's excessive praise for good behavior, excessive criticism for bad behavior in their childhood. They'll also have some type of overindulgent or an overvaluation by the parents, whether it's their family members or even their peers. And they can be praised, and whether it's, in the way that they look or their abilities. And it can also be caused by some severe emotional abuse within the childhood. So the person you're dealing with, if they have NPD, most likely it is from childhood, but it can start to manifest a little bit in later on in life. So the narcissist had unpredictable or unreliable caregiving from their parents. So they're in this state of confusion. It's causing some brain damage to them. And they're losing the part of their brain that has the empathetic part. And we'll get more into that, because there's differences in the gray matter that a narcissist would have, but they will often learn manipulative behaviors, whether it's through their parents or their peers, and they often don't really know how to regulate their emotions. And because they're so valued by their parents, that's how they regulate their own self-esteem. So once they get out in the real world, they got to figure out how to regulate the self-esteem, and they lack a true sense. And it gets tricky because sometimes they seem very confident. Your grandiose ones will seem very confident. Your vulnerable ones might not. They'll kind of play the victim a little bit more in an outward appearance. So what is the pathophysiology of this? Within that brain, there's less volume of the gray matter located in the left anterior insula. So they have a smaller portion of their brain. And a lot of us want to fix our narcissist, or we wonder if we go to counseling, it's part of their brain that's damaged. They have a reduced gray matter that's in the prefrontal cortex up in here. The brain regions identified above, what I've been talking about, are associated with empathy, compassion, also emotional regulation, and cognitive functioning. So they really don't understand all the time what we are trying to explain. If we say it hurts my feelings, they're like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I just called you something, like, why are you taking it so serious? They don't get it. And sometimes they do, if they can relate it to something important to them, but they don't have the same feelings that we do. So they're not going to understand what we're saying. And when we're trying to explain things to them, for one, they don't care because it's taking up their time. But the other is it gets frustrating to them because they don't get why we're complaining. A lot of times they don't even think they did something wrong. Sometimes they do know that they did something wrong, but they don't care. They don't care. So the findings that they found suggest that narcissistic personality disorder is related to a compromised capacity for that emotional empathy and also emotional regulation. So their brains are different, and treatment isn't going to grow an empathetic part of their brain. They might learn coping mechanisms. that are more healthy, but everything that they're doing is a coping mechanism. They don't want to self-reflect. They don't want to take accountability. They don't want to deal with any shame or guilt. So narcissists can feel. It's not like there's some walking zombie or robot. They do feel, but they don't feel love. They just don't. Those of you who have been in love, you guys know what that feels like. And the narcissist doesn't get that connection, that they feel similar to, just a really good, fun person that you spent time with. Like, it was enjoyable. And sometimes you want to hang out with those people again, but you're not in love with them. That's the depth that they're at. So when they're going after a mate or a partner, they do pick, good supply often, or sometimes it'll either be like high quality or bottom of the barrel. Either I just need that quick fix and they'll settle for anybody, or they're gonna use their looks or their money or whatever and achieve a good person who's empathetic. They have their act together, and it makes it difficult to pinpoint, is our person a narcissist, because they're all over the place. But either way, however they do it, it's still toxic. The grandiose, they have expectations of superior treatment from other people. They feel entitled to our time, our money, our dedication, our ability to do errands for them. They often just use people. They're not as appreciative as they should be, and they don't always return the favors. Some narcissists do favors for others, but it's to gain supply. It's not really always to help people out. It's to get adoration, or through word of mouth, how great that narcissist was for helping out the other person. So a lot of narcissists are fixated on these fantasies. They need power, success. They want to be the most attractive, the most intelligent, and their self-perception of them is that they're unique, that they're superior to others. They love to be associated with high status people, so they're kind of drawn to that. They need constant admiration from others, and that's why there's no downtime for a narcissist. They'll hop to a new supply very quickly, or if the new supply is out of town, they'll fill it in with people from the harem garage. So this sense of entitlement to special treatment, also they want us to obey, that it's almost like we have no free will, that we're under their power. And that's where the narcissist, through those manipulation tactics, gets us into an infantile state. They brought us down. But then it's weird. It's almost like time to move on. Once they kind of destroy us, and a lot of times we don't see it coming because we're trying so hard, and the future faking and the gaslighting, it's going to happen to the new supply. It just is. And are they going to live together? They could finish their days out together, but it's not going to be happy. It's just not. They'll either be emotionally or physically discarded, cheated on. But sometimes it seems like they have an unwillingness to empathize. They don't like to take the time. They don't try to understand. But sometimes, like, depending on the amount of damage, how close they are to psychopathy, a psychopath doesn't have empathy. So the narcissist depends on that damage, how cold they'll be, and where you are on that supply list, how much value as far as supply, because you are a good person, how much can they use you? If they need money, you have $20, they're going to go find somebody who has 100, but if you have $20 and the other person has 20, they'll probably stick around with you. Why not? You're already there. So there are 5 subtypes of narcissism. And they're not really moral people. A lot of narcissists don't believe in God. And I believe that when we talk about God, it's not necessarily my God. I'm a Christian, but it could be a Jewish God, Muslim God. but they don't really believe in like a higher power. Some of them are into themselves as far as controlling their destiny. And that's, I don't want to get too deep into the religion. Some people are just not religious. I wouldn't call them narcissists. But as far as somebody who is narcissistic, one of mine does. He has he wanted to read the Bible with me a couple times, and we did. His grandmother was very religious, super sweet woman, but the other one doesn't believe in God at all. So how deep was the religious factor of the first narcissist? I can't really judge somebody's faith, but you know, he was a state cop, so he kind of upheld the laws, and he broke a couple, but I don't know. He was, I guess, upstanding. I won't say outstanding citizen. He's pretty good as far as that, but as far as the depth of a god, but they can also utilize sexual seduction. Female narcissists do that a lot more than male narcissists. However, the males will do that, especially if they're really good looking. But they'll use some enticing. They'll, you know, kind of tantalize their victims. And it's just sad that it's not a real deep intimacy. So, you know, they feel they're entitled to be admired. In the beginning, they're going to give you gifts. They're going to, you know, come through on Valentine's Day. They're going to make holidays special. But eventually they love to ruin holidays. It's just too much of a hassle for them. They'd rather be doing something else. They're not going to want to compromise continually on whose family it goes to. If they want to go to a friend's house, they're going to throw a fit if they can't go to their friend's house on, I don't know, Christmas or so. It's all about them. It really is. They'll do it for a while and then they're like over it. They don't care, because a lot of them live in the moment. They can be careless with money. They just need instant gratification a lot of times. And that's another reason why they monkey branch, which is where you're swinging from one relationship to another until they're secure. They don't let go of the first supply. And a lot of times that's why we get blindsided. We thought we were working on things, we're trying, or it seems like things are getting better. Narcissists, if they're cheating, a lot of times they'll treat you better. If you're still with them, they'll treat you better. And you think things are getting better, but it's just a cover. It's a cover up. And we get blindsided by that too. Like, what do you mean? Like, we were doing this and he took me to dinners and we went to movies, and it's like, yeah, it's a way that they feel that they can get away with it. So there's this person called Will Titshaw. And he suggests there's 3 subtypes of this narcissistic personality disorder. Now, these are not officially recognized within the DSM, but someone who has narcissistic features and they lack, let me put it this way, the attention a narcissist, also histrionic people get. They display traditional NPD characteristics. And these are described, like I said, in the DSM, also the ICD, which are like mental disorder, medical books describing things. And they think they're superior. So they feel that they should have everyone's attention. That's why they'll manipulate conversations. They'll cut you off. When you're talking, they're not processing what you're saying in depth. They're kind of half-ass listening, and they're just like waiting for you to stop so they can interject. Narcissists often will either have the same illness, you know, you tell them, like, I don't know, you have COVID, you're dying of COVID, and if they have like a little runny nose, they're going to say that their symptoms are so much worse and they're probably going to die from COVID, and you know you have it, but they didn't even get tested. They just have a runny nose. They're big babies, and they have to one up us all the time. And, you know, there's hard, it's hard to tell exactly how many people have narcissistic personality disorder. There was the systematic review that was done in 2010, and this one did some community samples. It was about 6% in the community. There is a small gender difference. Men often seem to have a slightly higher incidence in the prevalence of NPD. Now they're starting to see a transition, a change. Women are becoming more and more narcissistic, and also so is our younger generation. And the reason women are kind of like flourishing and how many with NPD, I think a lot of it is you know, all these different movements, the change in how, you know, back, I don't know, in the 60s or whatever, where the man was in charge and the woman was supposed to be quiet, don't ask until you talk to, or complain. Female takes care of the kids. So there's a transition that's going on in America, to where, you know, it's like an entitlement, whether it's a true entitlement for women, but some will fight till the death to get on top, in control. And that mixed with the generations going through more and more narcissistic abuse, of emotional abuse as they're being raised. And then we're having narcissists raise children, which is causing them to be narcissistic. Also to the way the school system is, it's kind of interesting on how things are changing as far as that. So what's the treatment for these people? You know, what can we do to help these people? You know, it's kind of hard. They usually don't have good insight. They fail to recognize that their perception of their own behavior, they don't see it as inappropriate. So if it's not broke, why fix it? It's working for the narcissist. They like what they're doing. It does work. And since they're not in depth as far as their empathy, they can move on. They can move on. And it might suck for a little bit, but they get over it pretty darn quick. And the only reason they want to keep people around is for the supply. And each narcissist will have something different that's important to them. So if they're into looks, like they want their partner to be gorgeous, you know, they might get bummed out if they can't get another gorgeous person, or financial. If they can't find a richer person, they're going to be bummed out because their lifestyle is going to change. It's not the person. It's not the person. That's what hurts us so bad, is it's really hard to be a person and feel that somebody can't recognize that we have feelings and we had true intentions, loving intentions, and it didn't matter. Like, that hurts. You know, I always say, like, you know, I would die. I'm not married, but I would die for my husband, you know, to save his life, things like that. But I'm not going to just shoot myself to go, I love my husband. See, I just proved it. And that's what we feel like we did. Like, we sacrificed so much of our heart, so much of our time, our love. And it was just like a unnecessary death. And what did it prove? Might have proved what we were willing to give, but it was unnecessary to go through that. I don't know, the way the narcissist discards is really hard. That's why we ruminate. That's why we grieve. It's a different kind of grief than a breakup, from a regular relationship. You know, if I don't know, you're dating someone and they got to go into the service and leave the country. You know, hopefully, if you guys decide you could stay together, sometimes people feel that, you know, if you're going to live in different countries or they're going to travel or be stuck in a war, that they don't want to tie you down. So that's a loving thing sometimes. Sometimes it feels like, is it really loving? It's up to you guys. If you guys can work through that, that's fine. But narcissists, a lot of times, they'll do things. Sometimes they're not always evil. They're not. But because they don't listen, because they don't understand, sometimes they think that they're doing us a favor for something. Like my second arc, part of it was, you know, he thought I needed to be closer to my daughter. She's a grown woman, and I would only see her every so often anyways. She's super busy, but you know, they use that as a justification of doing what's best for you. And you're like, that's not what I want though. You know, I wanted a relationship. And they don't listen to what's important to us. So whether it's them being cold or them being kind, they don't listen to what's important. They don't listen because they don't grasp our way of thinking. And a lot of things that we learn in life or experience, or the way that we talk to people, is based on our own perceptions. So their lives, their perceptions are different. That's how they relate to us, but it doesn't match up. It doesn't match up. And, you know, it can happen to anybody, rich, poor, famous, but there's that cluster B. You got your borderlines and your narcissists. They often associate love with painful longing. So this is the crux of all those come here, go away, push, pull cycles. If you notice, if you guys want to comment below, how many times did you break up or feel you're losing each other? The only time mine liked me was when I was leaving. They push you and test you, and then right before you're about to lose it and give up. But they get their love off of us clinging onto them. So they'll push us away and we're like, no, 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 no. How can I make it better? And it all works out to them, but they don't give us stability. They don't give us comfort. And, you know, so it gets really painful. And so when their intense yearning for love is met, the painful sensations they've come to interpret as loving feelings, they evaporate. So at this point, if it's a borderline, they'll feel bored, annoyed. They don't like the comfort. They don't like the comfort. So they do that cycle again and they'll push away. Now with a healthy partner, they'll require the continuity in loving. And that's where it gets hard, is if you are a healthy person, that it should, like, why is the love gotta come and go and confuse us? And, you know, a borderline feels kind of like an emotional claustrophobia, and it causes them to push away, and then we freak out. And it takes a while too, you know, so with the new supply, they just haven't gotten to that cycle yet. It's always longer in the beginning, and then each subsequent time, it's gonna become closer and closer in repetition. So the narcissists, they deal with their needs for independence, autonomy. They find emotionally unavailable lovers sometimes who won't consistently trigger themselves. They don't want to feel engulfed. They don't want to feel claustrophobic, that we're clingy and too loving. And sometimes too, we're like, when we get caught up in the love, like that's intoxicating to us. We want more of it and they want less of it. And in the beginning with the love bombing, we thought it'd be perfect. Like we can just grow and grow from here. But the narcissist just wanted to take that energy. And so, you know, the distance that they start pushing us away kind of eases some of that tension for them. And a narcissist perfectionist makes it, but like they know that they're at fault and they don't want to experience that shame. So, you know, we just go through it over and over again. And it's just toxic. The narcissist, when we give them love, they have this kind of toxic sense of not being lovable or not worthy of the love that we give. And it's a trigger that we don't even recognize. It gives them like remnants of their childhood, and it makes them uncomfortable. It's not their comfort to be in a comfortable relationship, and it's only hurting us. And you know, their brain is just a lot different. You know, some of the vulnerable ones can seem shy, but they'll still use people. And you know, the grandiose and the vulnerable, either way, they have an issue of self-esteem, and that's one of the most fundamental things about narcissism. So the grandiose, they need people's approval. They'll compete with others for attention, admiration, and narcissists are like a whole different breed. So if you're thinking about staying with your person, getting back together with them, they don't have the right gray matter. They don't have the emotional availability. They don't have it. You know, it's just like we feel that love is just never ending and the cup floweth over and it's just amazing, and we'll just stuff as much as we can inside our hearts and it's all going to work out. We get the concept of I do for you, you do for me, and it works out. But if it's I'll do for you because I love you and I want you happy, and in turn if they do that back, it's good. It's good. We can kind of communicate like, oh no, I don't like to travel, please don't do that. That's not what makes me happy. And if they listen to us, then they're like, oh, okay, then we'll have nice romantic dinners at home or whatever, you know, go camping in the bedroom. But if there's a balance. But the narcissist, you know, in the love bombing, either they're give, and then because there's like, whoa, where'd this come from? And we're enjoying it and we don't even have a time. But we'll get into this cycle where we give back. But that's I'm securing the supply. And then they just feel they own us. And then they want that power. And they'll take anything. They'll take anything. So I hope that was helpful. Just remember that narcissists can turn you into a narcissist. They can cause brain damage in you. They can cause you to be depressed and confused where you're not focusing on your work or taking care of your kids the right way. It's damaging. And if you're staying with the narcissist for the kids' sake, look how much you hurt. Look how much you hurt. Your kids are going to get hurt too. So if you stay, that's up to you. But if you're staying for the kids' sake, you're hurting yourself and you're hurting the kids. Can narcissists change? They can't love the right way. They just don't. But, you know, the only time there might be some progress is if they want to change. The narcissist doesn't want to. So I hope that was helpful. Please comment below. Topic requests are always welcome, and I will see you